Hello, Justice Warriors. What's happening? Happy President's Day. And let me just straighten myself out because I'm like all crooked and stuff. I'm holding my phone because I'm planning on reading you guys an article from the New York Times. Let me get started with all my normal stuff. I didn't really give any advance notice, so I don't know how many people will be in here, but that's okay. While I'm getting the article read, we can see who comes in. Please hit your like button if you'd be so kind. And I'm not even plugged in. Hold on a second. Dang it. See, I was dealing with this earlier and I knocked everything down, and then I'm just now finally able to come on, and let me knock everything down again. Goodness gracious. What a pain in the butt. You know, sometimes I recommend for anybody who's thinking about doing a YouTube channel to do it. And then times like now, I'm just like, yeah, don't even mess with it. It's ridiculous. There's so many things you have to worry about. But, you know, such is life, right? Please make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not, consider doing so. It's just a hit of the button. Doesn't cost anything. There's no commitment. None of that. That's like if you're a membership is like a 1 month commitment, and it costs a little bit of money where it says join. So share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like it. Hello, Astro from Space. How are you today, my dear? Or sir, I'm not sure which. Turn on your notification bell to ring. Lovely to see you. How are you? I don't know if you told me this once, but I get the feeling you're from the space of Northern California. Is that accurate, or am I like way off? Are you from Mars? I love the handle. So cute. So everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of starting a conversation, hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. Astro from Space says, I'm okay, and how are you? And I will let you know that I am doing quite well, thank you. I have been having some allergies, so I just did my bee propolis spray and some allergy medications. But I've got my water, I've got my notes, I've got my phone to read you this New York Times article about the mass exodus with the resignations. I mentioned it yesterday. It was the most governmental resignations at once since the Saturday Night Massacre in the Nixon era. So that was more than 50 years ago. And I'm not that well versed with the whole thing because I was just a small child when Nixon was president. And I figured that a lot of us are probably not that well versed with it because there's just a lot to know these days, right? Well, you need sound awesome and cute. Do I have sound? Is it on? I hope it's on. Yeah, because it was unplugged, and it still works when I don't have it plugged in. It just works better when I've got the mic on. And since I have the mic, I might as well use it. So, this is crazy times. And this was Danielle Sassoon, the attorney that resigned rather than dismiss Eric Adams' case when she was ordered to do so. And they've been calling it the Thursday Night Massacre. And I'll just get started with this New York Times article. I think it's just a day or two old. Let me see. I hate it when these things don't have dates on them. And okay, February 14th. Today is the 17th. So this was from Valentine's Day. It's titled, Recent Resignations Recall Nixon-Era Saturday Night Massacre. Oh, did I do my disclaimer? Did I finish it? All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. I think I started it and didn't finish it. I do that sometimes. My apologies. Okay, so more than 50 years ago, President Richard M. Nixon sought to fire the special prosecutor leading the Watergate investigation, but his attorney general refused and resigned. Archibald Cox, the former special prosecutor in the Watergate investigation, speaking to reporters the morning after President Richard M. Nixon fired him during what became known as the Saturday Night Massacre in October of 1973. At least six Justice Department officials decided this week to quit. I think the number is 7. I think that's the total number. Rather than obey an order to drop the corruption case against New York City's Mayor Eric Adams. And I don't know if you guys are aware of the big thing that Eric Adams did that he was getting prosecuted for, was the thing with the fire code on a building. I mean, that's like serious crap, man, like putting everybody's life at risk. The sheer number of resignations is in such a short period of time has reminded legal experts of the Saturday Night Massacre. It was October 20th, 1973, and President Richard M. Nixon was seeking to fire Archibald Cox, the special prosecutor leading the Watergate investigation. Mr. Nixon and his subordinates had sought to cover up a connection between the White House and a botched burglary attempt at the Washington office building that gave the scandal its name. But the Attorney General at the time, Elliot L. Richardson, refused to fire Mr. Cox and chose to resign instead. The Deputy Attorney General, William D. Ruckelshaus, also refused to do so and was fired. The order eventually carried out by Robert Bork, the Solicitor General. Mr. Nixon eventually resigned. What happened this week in the Adams case was the Saturday Night Massacre on steroids, Steve Vladeck, a law professor at Georgetown, wrote on Thursday. In both instances, there was a clash between the president's personal preferences and what Justice Department lawyers think the rule of law should require, Mr. Vladeck said in an interview on Friday. Danielle R. Sassoon, the top federal prosecutor in Manhattan, chose to offer her resignation on Thursday instead of dropping the Adams case. The lead prosecutor on the investigation, Hagen Scotton, also announced his resignation. Ms. Sassoon has accused the mayor's lawyers of urging what amounted to a quid pro quo, which of course they deny, of assistance with the president's immigration crackdown if the mayor's case was dismissed. On Thursday afternoon, Mr. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office that he had not asked for the case to be dropped. But experts still see parallels with Mr. Nixon. You have a sword of Damocles hanging over the mayor in the, I'm not sure if I said that word right, Damocles, I'm not familiar with that. Hanging over the mayor in the event that he does not cooperate with the president and his immigration policy objectives, said Juliet Sorensen, a former federal prosecutor and professor at Loyola University, Chicago School of Law, who has also written a case book on public corruption and the law. Hello, Anna Bees. How are you? Is the sound okay? Astro from Space says it is. I had sound issues when I started because I forgot to replug it back in. And let's see. I'm reading an article out of the New York Times about the whole Thursday Night Massacre with the attorney Sassoon that resigned. Where was I? She also said that in both cases, career lawyers resigned in protest as a matter of professional responsibility and refused to get in line behind a blatantly political objective. Yes, it's good. Glad to see you. Lovely to see you, my dear. How are you doing today? I'll give you a minute to answer while I keep reading. Let's see. Since 1973, there have been plenty of examples of lawyers resigning rather than following directives given by their superiors, Mr. Vladeck said. But we haven't seen this sort of large-scale resignation all because the lawyers refused to do something the political masters wanted them to do since that Saturday night in 1973, he said. Yes, it's good. Glad to see you. That's the same one, the same comment. Are you doing well today, my dear? Let's see. Garrett Graff, who has written a book about Watergate, said that the comparisons to the Saturday Night Massacre were inescapable, and even argued that what happened this week was worse. Worse. Well, I am okay. I'm glad to hear that, my dear. Nixon's fight with the special prosecutor was a question of presidential power and executive authority, Mr. Graff said. What is happening now, he said, is even more fundamentally corrupting for the foundation and principles of the rule of law in American life, which is a Justice Department dropping legitimate charges against a public official in exchange for political favors. It's just freaking nuts, isn't it? Mr. Vladeck said the resignations were likely to influence what happened to the mayor's case and could lead courts to question the Justice Department's credibility. The Adams case is being overseen by Judge Dale E. Ho of Federal District Court in Manhattan. The resignations could also make it difficult for the department to recruit high-powered lawyers like Ms. Sassoon and her colleagues, Mr. Vladeck said. These are people you want in those jobs. If you're coming out of law school and you're interested in a career in public service, this is a flashing red light about whether you really want to go to work for this particular department. Yikes. Hey, Fred Field. How's it going? It really is a rough time, isn't it, Anna Bees? So I think that's the whole article. Let me see. So yeah, Richard Nixon was impeached, as we all know, but he resigned in lieu of being impeached. So I think what they're saying is that this is looking even worse for the current president than it looked for Richard Nixon back then. And it's so overwhelming, this political mumbo jumbo. One of the many channels that I've been watching now that I've been so drawn to all this corruption and politics is Mary Trump. Are you guys familiar with Mary Trump? She is a psychologist and she has a really good YouTube channel. She's the niece of the president and she really speaks from the heart. She's got a lot of common sense, a lot of humility. I think she really has her feet on the ground and her head is on straight. And she just tells it like it is. She tells some about the family dynamic and how her granddad was so harsh and severe. I believe her father is Fred Trump Jr., who died from alcoholism, and he was an airline pilot, a commercial airline pilot. His father was very disappointed in him for not going into real estate, and he just, he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and then it really ate him alive. Anna B says, I watch her sometimes. Cool. Did you see that another airplane crashed in Canada and ended up on its back? I did, Fred, and it's insanely overwhelming trying to keep up with all these disasters. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. There's also been 2 car pileups in tunnels. I forget where the 2 are. I think one is in our country and one was in another country. It's really impossible to keep up. But, I've been scared of driving through tunnels my whole life. And then, as we all know, Princess Diana passed away in a tunnel. And there's some really good spy movies with chase scenes in tunnels. Like, tunnels are scary, right? And it just makes me wonder, having 2 large car pileup tunnel motor vehicle accidents in the last couple of days, on top of all these plane crashes, on top of some pileups on the freeways. I think it was like Interstate 80 that there was a bad pileup the last couple of days. Green River, Wyoming on I-80. Thank you, Fred. And was the plane from the US, the one in Canada? I'm not sure. I didn't really read about it. I just saw the headline. But it really makes you wonder. It really makes your head spin. And it could be just that we're in the age of information and that we're getting more news about these things as they happen, that we're getting more news about it than ever before. I'm always looking for statistics. I'm always Googling things. The other day I Googled like how many plane crashes were there last year or the year before, how many in the world, how many in the US. I think last year in the USA we had like 130 plane crashes. And it seems like there's almost one a day lately. And 130 would be roughly like one every 3 days. That's just in the US, right? So last year it was like one every 3 days. I don't know. It's really hard to keep up. There's so much, I think, intentional like flooding of news and just trying to overwhelm the public, trying to distract the public. I think it's really important to stay focused on what's going on with the politicians, because it seems like right now they're dismantling a lot and they are piecing together that whole Project 2025, which is extremely unfortunate. The Project 2025, I have not read the 900-page document, but it's my understanding that it's much like The Handmaid's Tale. It's like the New World Order. It is crazy in my estimation. It's absolutely insane. And, you know, the craziest part is like having little Donnie say that he didn't know anything about it and he had nothing to do with it during his presidential campaign. And then come to find out that, of course, he's right there in with it, right? The level of lying, the level of misrepresentation of the truth is just insanity. I mean, I can't stand watching The Angry Orange Man. And I saw a meme today that said, Orange Lives Matter. I thought that was hilarious. I mean, I got to keep my sense of humor with all this crap. But one of the things that I wanted to say about Mary Trump and her telling of her perspective about what's going on with her uncle, Donnie. And she's probably who I got the nickname Donnie from, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But she has this thing that I really like. She calls them Sir stories. Have you heard of that, Anna Bees? She's like, here's another Sir story for you. And what a Sir story is, it's a hard little phrase to say. It's like a tongue twister. A Sir story is the Donald telling a story about people addressing him and saying, Sir, I thought you knew that this was going on, right? And he loves talking about himself in the third person. He loves telling these stories as if he's outside of himself and he's recounting it to you. And they're always calling him Sir in the stories. And some of these people that he tells his Sir stories about are dignitaries. They're leaders of other countries. And Mary Trump is pretty good at knowing when he's lying, which my thing is like, well, you know, he's lying if he's talking, right? But she's just like, you know, dignitaries don't call anybody Sir. That's just not even a thing. So when he's telling a Sir story like that, I mean, I would guess that most of his Sir stories are completely fabricated. I don't understand how it's gotten to this point. I don't understand how our country is just being dismantled. It really is. It's being dismantled. Hold on one sec. Our government's being dismantled. And it seemed to me like that was part of what was going on potentially with all of these airplane crashes. It was just another distraction, or like the terrorist attack in New Orleans, or the Matt Livelsberger, who allegedly blew himself up in his Cybertruck in front of the Trump Tower on New Year's Day. It just seems like distraction after distraction after distraction. And then you look at what's going on behind the scenes, and they're pushing people through. Like, I still don't think Kash Patel has been confirmed, but that's been hanging in the balance. And pretty much all of the candidates for the cabinet for the president will be confirmed, right? I mean, the only one so far that hasn't been was Matt Gaetz, and that was because he had the decency to cancel his self, because it was so bad. He was under such scrutiny. And in my eyes, that makes him look a little respectable, actually. But, you know, the Tulsi Gabbard, is that how you say her name? The one who's got the connections to Russia, who during the confirmation hearing, or the confirmation ceremony, shall I say, Trump forgot to confirm her, and he got all distracted with his anger towards the Department of Education and all the money that he and Big E want to steal. I mean, the Department of Education is trillions of dollars. Like, that is huge. And by canceling that department, where are they going to reroute those trillions of dollars to? My guess is to something like Stargate or Tesla. It's completely out of control crazy. And it just is beyond my comprehension that Big E and little d, dare I say, they need to be arrested. They need to be tried and imprisoned. And instead, they're running the country into the ground, and they're robbing all of us blind. And it's only going to get worse. You know, as it continues to get worse every day, I'm almost relieved, because I keep thinking the worse it gets, the more likely it is that people will wake up and see the writing on the wall and do what needs to be done. And I don't even know if people in America can do what needs to be done. It might need to be other countries like NATO. And again, you know, I'm like way beyond my level of expertise talking about international politics. I have no idea. I'm trying to pay attention. You know, I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. And as you know, my oldest son lives there now, and he's active duty in the military. My maternal grandfather was career military. He was part of Kennedy's cabinet, and he worked in the Pentagon, and he worked in this kind of stuff. His title was something like international liaison. He was a colonel in the Army for 30 years. You know, he had a lot of titles, but the title that he had when he was in the president's cabinet and worked in the Pentagon was something to the effect of like international liaison. And politics honestly hasn't really interested me much in the past. And it only interests me now because it seems like it's got such a huge effect on my day-to-day life and on my children's day-to-day life. And of course, grandchildren, which I will be a grandmother in a couple of months. That grandbaby is going to be born in the same area where I was born. So that's kind of cool. You know, it just really bothers me that we can't trust politicians. That's nothing new, I guess, but it just seems like it's worse than ever before. I don't want to be pigeonholed. I don't want to be labeled like an election denier, but I still don't believe this election was legit. And it's almost like as time progresses, I mean, the inauguration was only 4 weeks ago today. And they just keep laying it on thicker and thicker, like, oh, it was a landslide and it's a mandate and all this. And I think they cheated. I think Elon used his Stargate to interfere. And today's the 17th of February. The 23rd of February is when Germany has their election. And Elon's been doing everything in his power to interfere with that election. That's another thing that I feel like is very important for everyone to focus on. But I can really only speak for myself. The Germans are very worried about Elon, and they are taking it very seriously, and they do not mess around with their, what I guess you would refer to as their far-right political faction. They do not want anything like World War II to happen again. I did look up the years of the wars because, like I mentioned yesterday, I'm kind of ignorant about such things, and I do think it's not only fascinating, but I think it's important to know some of these facts. Oh, wait a second. Taxes. Green River, Wyoming on I-80. Plane Minneapolis to Ontario, I think, Fred. Wow. I did my taxes today before IRS shuts down. You are so smart. So my husband always does our taxes. I'll see if he is on it. He usually is. Yeah, in graduate school, or like right before I started graduate school, I was a nanny for a family that it was 2 attorneys, the mom and the dad was a corporate tax attorney. And so my husband already did our taxes, but then he took he got mentored by the tax attorney. So he's really good with it. So it's very cool. I'm fortunate like that. Did you see Pete Hegseth at a press conference, I think in Ukraine, drinking water? Yes, Anna Bees. I talked about that in yesterday's video, and I put a link in the description of yesterday's video. I'll put that in the link of the description today too. So it does, the content creator does a really good job of breaking it down. And, I've seen another content creator that I like who said, I don't know what he's drinking and I'm not going to, speculate. And I respect that too. And it's interesting to think about. I mean, we know that he said that if he was appointed to the position, that if he was confirmed, that he'd quit drinking. And you cannot stop an addiction in a paradigm like that. Addictions have you by the balls, so to speak, and they are the boss of you, and you might have that intention. I'm sure a lot of people do have intentions like that, but it never works out. And I would say never, because addictions are fierce and you have to address your addiction head on. And you need all of your facilities. You need to be motivated for the right reasons. You need to be doing it for yourself and for the people around you that you care about. You need to get professional help. You need to get all of the help that you can, all the support around you that you can. You need to employ every apparatus that you know of to guarantee your sobriety. It is challenging. And you can't just say, well, if such and such happens, I'll just stop. And maybe somebody can actually stop for a number of years. That would be what you call white knuckling it. And it's not much healthier than being an active addict, right? Anyway, let me catch up with all of your great comments here. Yes, the Sir stories, LOL. When I first heard her say that phrase, as hard as it is to have it come out of your mouth, it's also hard to detect it with your ear. And I didn't catch it at first, but I was like, that's hilarious, because I had an issue with those Sir stories already. I just didn't have a phrase coined to address them by. The D, not you are not the president, according to a certain 4-year-old. And see, I'm sure people can argue whether the little X said those things that he said. You know, it was picked up on a hot mic, and then the audio was enhanced, but also you could do not only the lip reading, but you could see the interaction between X and little D, and little D was like wincing and like pushing him away. I mean, you would think the president would say, E, get your little X out of here. He's wiping boogers on my desk. But no, I mean, Donnie was sitting there like a lapdog, man. That was the craziest crap I'd ever seen in the Oval Office. That is crazier than Monica Lewinsky and a freaking cigar. Although we didn't see any of that, right? We only heard about it. Fred, I saw that crazy stuff. Yeah. I want you to shut your mouth up. I want you to effing shut your mouth up. Isn't that what he said? Hello, Valerie Curto. Nice to see you. It is scary, Annabes. That's why we need to laugh about it. It's like laugh or cry, right? Okay, so the World War One. You guys probably know this, right? I'm just really ignorant about such things. World War One was 1914 to 1918. The Korean War, which is the one that my granddad fought in, was 1950 to 1953. And then World War II was 1939 to 1945. See, that's fascinating to me because I always thought the Korean War was before World War II. But no, 5 years after World War II, then the Korean War. And that was only 3 years. And then 2 years later, the Vietnam War, which lasted 20 years. So I brought it up in the context of that content creator, Chris, what's his last name? Chris Norland, the one who is American. I think he's both American and Vietnamese, or South Korean, maybe. He lives in South Korea, but he grew up in America, and he had come over here as a baby on an airplane in this big movement called Operation Baby Lift. It was April 1975. All in all, they brought over about 3,000 orphaned Vietnamese babies. He was on the very first airplane, and in that first flight, the plane crashed. It caught on fire. It was horrible. And 143 of these babies died on that plane. He was on that plane, and by the grace of God, he survived. So I also looked up some of the dates of like when Melania met little D. Allegedly, they met in 1998 when she was 28 years old. I did not realize that she was Miss Universe. Did you guys realize that? In 2003. Melania Trump was Miss Universe, of course. So she was born in 1970. She was 28 when they met, which it's funny because I read something that said she was 26 when they met, but you know, could have been a misprint. I don't know. And Marla Maples was only 20 when she met Trump. 20 when he was married to Ivana and then eventually married Marla Maples. So let's see. So that means that he met Marla in 1983. Is that right? No, that can't be right. I have too many numbers going on. Because Tiffany, I believe, was born in 1993, Marla's child with Trump. But I thought they got married after Tiffany was born. Anyway, maybe I should do a timeline of the president and all of his wives. And it's weird because Reagan was the only president who had ever been divorced, right? Nancy Reagan was his second wife. So that was very taboo to, just the thought of a president having been married more than once. And now we've got this president who's been married 3 times and started up with each of his subsequent wives when he was still with the previous wife. So he was married to Ivana when he got together with Marla. And then I want to say he was still married to Marla when he met Melania. But again, I'd have to go back over all of the information. You guys can help me out if you know any of these facts or if you're looking them up. I always say how I love to be fact checked. I fact check myself after my videos, just so you know. That's why I review the video, is to fact check myself and make sure that I didn't screw anything up, because especially when I'm dealing with so many numbers and so many dates, it's almost guaranteed that I'll mess something up. So Marla was 20 when she met Donnie. Melania might have been 28 when she met Donnie. Ivana was 27 when she met Donnie. But Donnie was a lot older than Marla, tons older than Marla. He was probably about the same age as Ivana, because she was like 73, I think, when she died 2.5 years ago. So yeah, he was just a couple years older than Ivana, but lots older than Marla. And he's a significant amount older than Melania. Not that much. What is it? Like 18 years, I think. But let's see. How are you doing, Valerie Curto? It's nice to see you. If you're still here, it looks like there's 6 of us all together. 18 years is a lot. I think it's a lot. It's not that much when 2 people are well into their adulthood, like somebody's 50 and the person is 68. Like, okay, I'm 57. So that would be like me dating somebody or marrying somebody who's 75. That would be a lot. I'll be honest, that would be a lot. And at the same time, I can see where love is timeless, and there are a lot of relationships with people of all different age gaps. What do they call it? Like a June, December, or December, May kind of thing. I think they call it December, May. But I always think that it's awkward at best, because when you are dealing with such a wide age gap, you're dealing with like a different generation. Like, you grew up with different music, you grew up with different movies. You grew up in a different time, just a whole different culture, right? When you think about like somebody who grew up in the 50s when things were really conservative and Stepford wife-ish, and somebody who grew up in the 70s when it was like crazy free love hippie town, right? I mean, that's a huge difference, just the subculture of our country, let alone knowing the same musicians or the same movies, the same jokes, that kind of stuff. I am here. I did not know they son singer. I was a kid in the 70s. I don't know what you mean, they son singer. If you want to explain, Valerie. My husband was 8 years older. Yeah, see, that's not that much. I mean, um, if somebody's like 18 and they're marrying somebody 18 years older than them, that's pretty huge. That's kind of like I'd say more of an adoption than a marriage, really, honestly. Like a 36-year-old and an 18-year-old. And um, I don't know. I've known people in situations like that and definitely saw it as an adoption rather than a marriage. They son. I did not know. I'm still confused, Valerie. I'm lost. Yes, I get it. I did not. I am here. I did not know they son singer. You want to clue me in? Feel free if you want to. Baron sang. Oh yeah, yeah. Baron. He's like 6'9". I have a person, I have a lot of tall people in my family, and I have a person in my family who is 6'7". It's pretty awkward. He hits his head on a lot of door jams. He has a lot of trouble fitting into like kitchens and bathrooms and stuff like that. I mean, that's extremely tall. 6'7" is awkwardly tall. And, my granddad was 6'5". He was too tall to join the military when he did, but he kind of like slouched, and a friend of his was the one who did the measuring. So I think they said he was like 6'3" or 6'4". Like that was the cutoff. And yeah, Baron being 6'9", that's extremely tall. It's extremely tall. I mean, it's perfect if you're in sports like basketball, volleyball, and it can be dangerous. It's sort of like living in a world that is created for right-handed people when you're left-handed. People that are left-handed have a much higher incidence of accidents and fatal accidents. So when you're extremely large or extremely small compared to average people, it can equate to a lot of injuries that you wouldn't have otherwise, and a lot more extreme injuries than what you would have otherwise. Like if you're in a car accident and you're really short, the seatbelt is going to do damage to your torso, to your collarbone. Or if you're really tall in the seatbelt, I mean, all kinds of things that those of us that are more average height don't think about. And those of us that are right-handed don't think about with people that are left-handed. So that's common knowledge with the left-handed thing. Especially for people that are left-handed, they all know. They know. They know to be very careful. My wife was 5 years younger. Yeah, I mean, that's not that big of an age gap. I'm 18 months older than my husband, which, shame on me. Cradle Robert, right? He was like 21 and I was 22 when we met, I think, if I'm remembering accurately. He had just turned 21 and I was not quite 23. So yeah, we've been together forever and a day, and you can probably hear him sneezing in the background. Sorry. I've got the door shut. My little studio here, I need to have maybe like some noise canceling outside the door. I usually have a fan going, so it's like some good white noise, but it was chilly, so I had the fan on, but I turned it off. He's on YouTube. Yeah, he tall. I did not know they was cut off with how tall you are. Yeah. So my son, who's in the military right now, was 6 feet when he was in boot camp, and he was invited to be a ceremonial guard. And you have to be 6 feet tall exactly to be a ceremonial guard, which I think is hilarious. He was only 19 at the time, and I'm pretty sure he's grown a little bit. So But yeah, I mean, part of it is just like for the uniform, but also as a ceremonial guard, you're going to be carrying caskets with other people. So you want to all be the same height. That's just going to make it easier. There's also a lot of like, I don't even know what you call them, the bayonets, like the swords that they use like batons. You don't want to be the wrong height when you're messing around with those, or when those are being swung all around you in a close proximity, right? It's pretty freaking amazing what they do. But yeah, you can't be too tall, you can't be too short. Of course, they have weight restrictions. They have a lot of restrictions. That's why a lot of people can get out of like a draft with a medical exemption, like bone spurs. I think that was what Donnie said he had, was bone spurs, right? Isn't that accurate? I guess it's not good to be too tall or too short. Right. For a lot of guys, women like tall men, and for a lot of women, men like petite little women. So, I'm not so sure that there's that many women who like petite men. I'm sure there's at least one or two, and not so sure that there's that many. I'm saying too many things at once. Not many men that like super tall women. I mean, some men do, right? Like, remember Sonny and Cher? Sonny was shorter than Cher, and a lot of people thought that was hot. Just like the whole Amazon woman thing. But a lot of men are intimidated by women that are too tall. So, my seatbelt got me. Oh, I am so sorry, Valerie. Yeah, seatbelts are adjusted more for men's heights too. Totally sexist. But your average man is probably like 5'8" to 6', I think, somewhere in there. And your average woman is like 5'4" to 5'7". And so I think most seatbelts, like the lowest that they go is for somebody about 5'7", like a short guy or a average to tall woman. And, there's devices that you can get for your seatbelts to make them safer if you're a lot taller or a lot shorter. But what a pain in the rear end, especially when you're driving different cars or you have a rental car. But yeah, I am sorry that your seatbelt got you. That sucks. Wife's brother was a tomb guard, like in Indiana Jones. Or you mean like out there at the Arlington National Cemetery? That's wild. A tomb guard. Like a guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, or something else? Because we went there. We went to the Arlington National Cemetery last summer, and I saw a lot of guards on the campus of the cemetery. I didn't see any tomb guards. And it was so hot the day we were there. It was like 103 degrees. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. The cool thing was, because my son was active military, and I'm not sure if it was all active military or because he specifically was a ceremonial guard, that we got to drive our car right onto the roads of the National Cemetery. Because for most people, they have to park their car and then get into like a shuttle to go over there. And we were really fortunate that we were able to drive onto the premises, especially because it was so hot. There was hardly any air conditioning in any of the buildings. Mostly you're like walking outside and then, trying to get into the buildings with the air conditioning like everybody else is. But at a couple points in time, I just took a break and got into the van and got the AC going. I just couldn't take it. Let's see. My favorite uncle was light-skinned Chicano, and my auntie was dark-skinned Chicana. She was months older than him. He would say he was in the first interracial marriage, and my auntie was a cradle robber. That's cute. Yeah, my grandmother was like 2 months older than my grandfather, the one that was military. He was born in June, and she was born in May. That's 1 month, isn't it? Yeah, that's like 1 month, but they were very self-conscious about it. It was hilarious. Like they didn't want anybody to know that she was older than him, because back then in the olden days, the men were supposed to be a couple years older than the woman. Not the same age, but a couple years older, right? I mean, weird. So it was only 1 month. That's funny. I've always thought it was more than 1 month, but no, it was May and June. Hilarious. Hilarious. Arlington unknown soldiers. Yeah. So I didn't see guards when I was there at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. Oh man, but how sad. How freaking sad. It's something to see. Yeah, Arlington National Cemetery. So I was born literally right across the street from there, because I was a home birth in an apartment and right there. And all of the times that when I lived in DC when I was younger, or going back and visiting DC, I never went to the cemetery because that's kind of more of a touristy thing. I never felt the need to go, but I'd always heard it was an incredibly cool experience. And, you can see it right from the road, right from the freeway. So it's like, well, what difference does it make if you're driving by or if you're inside the premises? And yeah, I highly recommend going inside the premises. It's a very, very magnificent experience. Absolutely. Absolutely. Something to see. Hello, Helby. A bit late joining this evening. Well, yeah, we are already at almost an hour, and it is 5:01. I should probably wrap up soon, unfortunately. I got started late because when I was messing with my mic plug earlier, the whole freaking computer fell down. So it took me a while to set things back up. And of course, I wanted to set them up better so that won't happen again, because that's never happened and that shouldn't have happened. But I did. I made it more sturdy, and so it just took some extra time. So I got a late start. My apologies. I'm just so happy to be on 2 days in a row. So let me keep up with your comments and then see if I have anything else in my notes that I wanted to share today before we wrap up. Off to watch local and national news. I know. I got to keep up with the news. There's so much important things happening right now. My uncle was so funny, Annabee says. Yeah, that is funny, the whole thing with interracial marriage. What's really funny to me is Vance, JD Vance, thinking that his kids are not interracial when his wife is from India. She's very dark skinned, and he's a honky like me, and he doesn't know what interracial means. I mean, he straight up says his kids are not interracial. I don't know. Maybe he's just deemed his wife dark-skinned white. I mean, it's tough to bring up any issues of race online on YouTube, but I do. I think it's important to be able to talk about these things openly and not offensively. But it's easy for people to get offended. It's easy for things to come out the wrong way, especially if you're like being sarcastic or making jokes or anything. So I apologize if I said anything that offends anybody, especially about race, because I think it's really important to be open and honest about these things. And that, I think interracial marriages are cool. I think they're challenging. I think it's hard for people to deal with other people's racism. And it's hard for all of us to deal with our own internalized racism. I mean, let's see. What sad Vietnam Wall? My nephew lives right they okay, so Valerie, some typos or something, I'm not sure, but you're talking about the Vietnam Wall. There's like the list of all the people that passed away in the Vietnam War at a different location in Washington, DC. Is that what you're talking about? My nephew lives right there. Yeah, I'm sure that's what you meant when you said right they. Wow, it's already been an hour. I know it goes so fast. Maybe he did not get memo. Um, this is true. I didn't mean to offend. No, you didn't offend me at all. Not you didn't offend me, and hopefully nobody. Um, like I said, I think it's important to be able to be direct and talk about such things. Sexism, racism, homophobia, and to me, that's one of the whole points of me having my YouTube channel is to have an open discussion about things that might not be happening otherwise, and hopefully for all of us to learn something and to walk away more intelligent. Like for instance, with all of the transsexual stuff, I think that's very hard for a lot of people, and like the pronoun thing with she, him, her, them. I feel like it's important to allow people to define their own pronouns. I feel like it's important to allow people to define their own gender. Not everybody is born male or female. 1 in 3,000 births are hermaphrodites. And back in the olden days, the doctor a lot of times wouldn't even tell the parents. The doctor would just make a decision and go one way or the other and do a little bit of surgery. Like that's pretty wild. And then in more modern days in our country anyway, the doctor would consult with the parents and then decide, and they pretty much were forced to make a decision. They weren't allowed to just not do a surgery. When I learned about that before having my children, I was just dumbstruck, thinking about like when I went to Evergreen State College and we had about 2,000 students there, and thinking, so maybe there was a person that was born as a hermaphrodite there if it was 1 in 3,000. My sister went to Santa Monica High School way back in the early 80s, and the high school was about 3,000 kids at that point in time. So that would mean that there was a student at the high school that was born hermaphrodite. And yeah, anyway, people are born. I mentioned to you guys in one of my lives last week, a kid that I grew up with who identified as a boy. He was born with the Y chromosome and 2X chromosomes. So the 2X chromosomes makes you a girl. The Y chromosome makes you a boy. So I don't know any other depth to it, but I reconnected with him as an adult, and he shared with me that as a young adult, he found out that he had the double X and the Y chromosome, and all of a sudden his whole life made sense to him. And it made sense to me too, because he was kind of an outcast and nobody could really put a finger on what made him goofy or odd. He got bullied a lot. He looked like a boy, he acted like a boy, but he had a double X chromosome. And it was fascinating to learn that as adults, and then being able to reflect back on when we were children. So yeah, gender is not so cut and dry. People like to pretend that everybody is one or the other, like everything's black and white. And it's like the title of that book or that movie, the 50 Shades of Grey. There's really an infinite number of shades of gray. And in my opinion, there's an infinite number of masculinity and femininity in people's gender identification. I mean, when I've got my baseball cap on backwards, I kind of look like a tomboy, I'm sure. There were times when I was growing up that I was a bit of a tomboy, but there's a lot about me that's very girly girl too. And, for when I met my husband, we were college kids and I had a cute short haircut and his hair was long. And his dad was like very offensive the first time he met me. He was trying to offend his son, and he was trying to be nice to me, but it just came off wrong. He said, "Wow, her hair is even shorter than yours, or your hair is even longer than hers." Something like that. Those were the first words he said to me. And I had a good relationship with my father-in-law. He passed away a few years ago, but it never left my mind that when he met me, he was trying to offend his son. Like, that's messed up. That's just not okay. And, and he was very loving towards my husband, but, he obviously didn't approve of the long hair, I guess is what I'm saying. Anyway, what else? That is true. I didn't mean to offend. My spelling is off. Yes, that's fine, Valerie. It's just confusing when I'm trying to read. But no, I'm always ready for it because, spell check gets us or trolls try to get us. You just never know. Vice president, my family. Oh, gotcha. The vice president with his wife. His wife is quite lovely. She's a physician. And I don't know what she sees in him. He's just gross. He's from my state, so I can say that, right? My family are a mix of many cultures. And I'm a mix of many cultures. I mean, I look like a honky and I've been raised pretty much honky, but I have a lot of Native American in me. Native American, Irish, a little bit of Italian, a lot of German and Hollandaise. That's my favorite joke about the Hollandaise. Let's see. I have to drop off my taxes. Thanks, Fredfield. Yes, Jackie Bushable. Definitely lets all of us get our taxes done. Valerie says, wow, I'm not sure what the wow is for. That was from 6 minutes ago. Are we talking about the Zia people out of the Bay Area of San Francisco? No, but I saw a thing about that. Who just did a little video right before I came on? I saw that one of the channels that I watch, was it Jasmine Nior? I was just like, oh dear goodness. It was like the vegan trans, I don't know what it was. I guess I can pull up my phone and see. That's where IH went directly after the Red Rums. They are vegans, trans, kill with swords, on spectrum, educated, Veritas. Oh, I'm so confused. That's where the IH went? Directly after the Red Rums? Who's IH? So no, I'd never heard of him until I saw that Jasmine Nior video. Is that the one that you saw? And I didn't watch the video. I just saw like the thumbprint for it. Okay, 1 minute ago, Jack Conchier, I can't say his last name. COCCHIARELLA. I like his channel a lot. Jack Conchieria. He just dropped a video about a plane crash with this insane policy 1 minute ago, saying that it's Trump's fault. I'll watch it for just a minute maybe, but let's see what that Jasmine Nior thing was. Jasmine Noor. I told you, I have this habit of putting extra syllables into things where they don't belong. So her last video, Meet the Zizians, a killer trans vegan cult, from 4 hours ago. So what's the IH, the Enan Harsh? Jackie Bushable, thank you for educating us. Enan Harsh went directly there after the Red Rums. Wow. So yeah, as soon as I saw the IH, for some reason I was thinking it was Idaho, but it was not coming to mind. But let's see what Jack has to say. I will put the Jack video in my description.
Learn about crypto and get rewarded as you learn with Coinbase Learning Rewards. We've paid out over $1 trillion.
We have to
Okay. And then let me say about this kid, Jack. I think he's about 25 years old. I like his content a lot. He was accused of all kinds of horrible, like harassment and stalking kind of stuff. I think it was a smear campaign. But just so you guys know that I am aware of it, but I'm still a supporter of his. And I don't believe it. I think it's crap.
Spell with this ridiculous and quite frankly dumb notion that the employees are really lackeys at Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency are these big brain geniuses who are taking a new approach to trimming the fat and getting rid of the waste in government that no one ever could have thought of before because they're these tech geniuses. Oh, they're so smart. It's just not true. Elon didn't bring these kids in because they're smart. He brought them in because they're loyal and because they don't know what they're doing. That's the point. They don't care about these programs. They don't understand them. And so they are more likely to help Elon get rid of them. That is all part of the plan. And it is a plan that is profoundly dangerous. And that's not just my opinion. Donald Trump has actually just recently realized it after Elon and his stooges fired some of the most important federal.
I figured that's where he was going with this, was the people who are in charge of the nuclear weapons. I think they were all fired last Thursday, and then I think Friday they tried to bring them back, but they didn't know how to get a hold of them. So I've been wondering about updates on this. But I will play more of it. I'll just keep interrupting it so that it's okay for, copyright stuff.
Employees who Trump is actually now begging publicly in a humiliating way to come back to him. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into this story, Rachel Maddow did a great job recently detailing all of these failures at.
I don't watch Rachel Maddow. That's one that people tell me I should. And it seems like something that I would enjoy. But this guy, Jack, I think he has like 500,000 subs. A lot of these political channels have massive amounts, like millions of subs.
I think adds some color to this story. So before we get into this breaking news, let's hear from Rachel Maddow.
But today, people started gingerly asking if perhaps Mr. Musk just didn't know that in an older version of the programming language that is used by the Social Security Administration, when you didn't have a date to enter in a particular field, it would code it as 150 years ago. It would code it as...
That is something that I had learned about, you guys. So, when Elon was saying that some of these people were getting checks, Social Security checks, and they were 150 years old, that was BS. That was just like what she's saying.
1875. The year 1875 is essentially an error message to let you know that there isn't a real date in that record, and so you should treat that as an error and find out what went wrong.
Too funny.
Does he know that, or does he really think those are records for 150-year-old people?
The problem with him is that he thinks he knows everything. None of us can know everything. It doesn't matter if our IQ is 300. We can't know everything. That's not good.
You know what he's looking at when he's pawing through your Social Security records? Remember, it's their technical prowess and know-how that's supposed to impress us and make us think this is somehow different than when a far-right, power-mad, doomed president tried to do this exact same thing in 1973. We're supposed to be intimidated here. That measles outbreak we told you about last night in West Texas, it has now doubled in size as of today. CDC also has fired as many as 1,300 people today.
That's scary. Both the measles outbreak doubling and the CDC firing 1,300 people in a day. Those two things coinciding, you guys, like, we have to take action. We have to revolt. But I am also looking at the irony of me playing a video of this Jack content creator and him playing a video of Rachel Maddow. So it's me playing a video of him playing a video. So now let's see if she will play a video to add to it.
The intelligence staff at the Department of Energy sent its staff an urgent warning about how to respond to Elon Musk's team seeking access to sensitive classified materials about nuclear weapons. And at the National Nuclear Security Administration today, which is responsible for keeping our nukes safe, they fired a significant portion of their staff today, hundreds of staff members. Yesterday, we got word that Trump and Musk's little squad of...
For the most part, Jackie, I like your comment. For the most part, I don't think they care. But then when they are getting criticized or, putting everybody in danger, although I think a lot of this is putting everybody in danger and they don't care. They don't care. But with nuclear weapons, that's putting themselves in danger too. So your comment, you say they don't know much if they fire very important people, then realize the wrong people were fired, backpedaling again. It's completely insane. Like the whole freaking administration is completely insane, in my humble opinion.
Genius web developers and software engineers, the folks who may have accidentally posted the classified information on their website and left open some sort of back door so that random members of the public can post stuff on it. That genius squad has now reportedly been sent into the IRS. So now that group is in there with your tax information.
They need to go to jail.
Well, tonight we get word that at the IRS, just ahead of tax filing season, they're about to fire thousands, maybe 9,000 people who actually work there to handle your taxes. The combination of the smash and grab by the supposedly high-tech team.
Let me say this, Jackie Bushable. A couple of far-right trolls have shown up in some of my comments, which, I don't trust that they're not Russian bots or something, but I don't care whether they're this, that, or the other thing. One of the comments that really bothered me was something to the effect of so what do you have against trimming government overspending? It's like, of course, I have nothing against trimming government overspending. That's not what this is. This is a complete dismantling of our government. That's what the goal is. They just want the money for themselves, essentially. Hey, C3PO, what's up? I am playing a videotape of somebody playing a videotape.
And the mass firing of people who actually do know what they're doing means real material harm is being done to our country. And it will take a long time to repair it when we finally get to start.
These guys are just not smart. We have to stop treating Doge in any way, shape, or form like it is a legitimate agency with good people working at it. These are unqualified kids who know nothing about government, and the ones that are nice, okay, whatever, I don't care. I don't want them to have my social security number, but the majority of them are the type of people who are tweeting what? That they were racist before it was cool, saying horrible things about Indian Americans. This is just ridiculous that anyone wants to treat Doge like it's a legitimate organization, especially after what it recently did, which is costing Donald Trump and leading to him begging for federal employees to come back.
And remember, Doge is the word for the highest ranking government official, I think in the Roman times. You can Google it. It's hard to find it because Google keeps spitting you out information about Elon's Doge. But that word was chosen, I think, explicitly, specifically, because that's where this is headed. That Elon is in a position of higher power than a president. That's what a Doge is. It's no coincidence. Any job that gets new admin needs to keep talent long enough to give newcomers background info. Yeah, this is all very, very pompous and reckless. And yeah, it's going to take a long time to undo the damage.
That's the story I want to get into right here. Let's take a look. The Trump administration tries to bring back fired nuclear weapons workers. The Trump administration has halted the firings of hundreds of federal employees who are tasked with working on the nation's nuclear weapons programs. The Trump administration has halted the firings of hundreds of federal employees tasked with working on the nation's nuclear weapons programs in an about-face that has left workers confused and experts cautioning that DOG's blind cost-cutting will put communities at risk. 3 U.S. officials who spoke to the Associated Press said
I gotta ask you, C-3PO, it looks like you just deleted everybody's messages, or a whole bunch of them, and I'm thinking that you did not do that on purpose. Can you undo it? So yeah, let me keep playing this, and then we do need to wrap up shortly. So
350 employees at the National Nuclear Security Administration were abruptly laid off late Thursday, with some losing access to email before they learned they were fired, only to try to enter their offices on Friday morning to find they were locked out. The officials spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation. One of the hardest hit offices was the Pantex plant near Amarillo, Texas, which saw about 30% of the cuts. Those employees work on reassembling warheads, one of the most sensitive jobs across the nuclear weapons enterprise with the highest levels of clearance. The hundreds let go at NNSA were part of a DOGE purge across the Department of Energy that has targeted about 2.
Let me just say how expensive it is to hire people, too. That costs a lot of money to fill a position, and it takes a lot of time and effort to interview and to get the right people. And then you might make an offer to somebody and they might have a better offer somewhere else, or they might not be interested. But I want to continue playing this for you guys, but I also want to address my good-natured mod here who apologizes for setting the phone down and having all of that go wonky. But is there a way that you can undelete them? I think that there is, if you want to try it. But your apology is well accepted. And also it is funny too, isn't it? Here, I'll put your apology in the pinned message. So I hope no one is offended, but this is a really good comment that you made. It was also a Roman salute, nothing to do with the Nazis or the fascists. You could, I think, but not me. Oh, I don't. Anna B says she can still see the chat. That's weird. So yeah, a bunch of the messages say that they're deleted, and I don't think that I can undo them, but I think that you can. But we'll just try to not worry about it. It's not like people are getting upset, hopefully. And I think that you can, if you want to try to play around with it, if you're able. But Anna says she can still see the chat. So I don't know what's going on with that. But the thing with the Roman salute and then the Roman Empire, like, is that where we're headed? Is that where we're headed?
2,000 employees. The DOGE people are coming in with absolutely no knowledge of what these departments are responsible for, said Derek Kimball, executive director of the Arms Control Association, referencing Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency team. They don't seem to realize that it's actually the Department of Nuclear Weapons, or that is the Department of Energy. By late Friday night, the agency's acting director, Teresa Robbins, issued a memo rescinding the firings for all but 28 of those hundreds of fired staff members.
All but 28.
A formal notification that the termination decision issued to you on February 13th has been rescinded effective immediately, said the memo.
What scumbags.
The accounts from 3 officials contradict an official statement from the Department of Energy, which had fewer than 50 National Nuclear Security Administration staffers were let go. But that wasn't the case.
With high security clearance. But I mean, literally just upending these people's lives. Like when people get fired, a lot of people, that is like devastating. Some people even get self-injurious over that, you guys. Like some people will off themselves in a situation like that. Holy crap.
The firings prompted one NNSA senior staffer to post a warning and call to action. This is a pivotal moment. We must decide whether we are truly committed to leading on the world stage or if we are content with undermining the very systems that secure our nation's future. Deputy Division Director Rob Plonsky posted to LinkedIn. Cutting the federal workforce responsible for these functions may be seen as reckless at best and adversarially opportunistic at worst. Are you kidding me? Slashing our nuclear programs at a time when Donald Trump is essentially inviting dictators all over the world, our adversary?
Let me just say, I think he's inviting World War III. He talked about that so much in his campaign trail, like, oh, if you elect me, it'll prevent that. But if you don't elect me, that's definitely going to happen. But it really seems to me like he's trying to provoke these other countries and then dismantling that
to do whatever they want, while our allies trust us less and less every day as we launch trade wars with them. This is stupidity at its finest. This is what MAGA is cheering on. These former security hawks who care so much allegedly about stopping China, but we're de-arming our nuclear arsenal. This is absolutely insane. We are leaving this country more dangerous every single day because of the dumbasses at Doge and Elon Musk. It is absolute insanity. It is crazy. These people are dangerous. They don't.
Dangerous Doge. Yes. Let's see. This is about 4 more minutes, so maybe I'll finish it before then wrapping up with you guys.
Know what they're doing. They don't. And what makes it even worse is that the government budget, the percentage of it made up by federal employees, is about 2.1%. So if you slash that by 50%, an absurd number, how much are you saving us? It is a crazy
spitting
notion.
In the ocean.
And it is, again, the point we have to make that goes to show they don't care about cuts, they don't care about efficiency, they don't care about saving money. This is all about intimidation. People don't know if they're going to come back. Some of the smartest and most qualified people in the world to do the most important jobs probably won't come back to them out of fear of retribution.
And they probably got better offers. Like some people in really top quality jobs like that, top quality employees, they get swooped up the minute they get laid off. Like word's out on the street. And yeah, they might have gotten better offers, or they don't want to come back because it could just happen again.
That they might just get fired again. Why would you want that? Why wouldn't you just take the job security you could find in the private sector? It is insane, and it is embarrassing us on the world stage, just as J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth did earlier this weekend, and Rachel Maddow really broke that down so perfectly.
Talk all we want about values. Values are important.
Values
but
are...
you can't shoot values.
But you can't shoot them.
You can't shoot flags, and you can't shoot strong speeches.
That's funny.
You can't shoot with them?
Wait, let me just say, I think the man is having a case of the word salad, and he doesn't know what the F to say. He's in this job where he's way out of his league, and he's just spitting out a bunch of buzz phrases and crap.
You can't shoot at them? You can't shoot them? Are we sure he's not talking about, shots? You know what I mean? U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth at a meeting of the NATO defense ministers this week. I think that was supposed to sound tough, came off a little more like something your least favorite uncle posts on Facebook next to a picture of an assault rifle and 9 empty beer cans. But Secretary Hegseth began this trip by bewildering not just our allies, but also a lot of people in Washington when he inexplicably blurted out that any peace deal in the Russia-Ukraine war would have to include Ukraine giving up its territory and abandoning its bid to join NATO.
And let me just say, I think that was the same speech where he was sipping on the quote-unquote water. I'm pretty sure that was his first presser. And he was... it was a see-through glass, and you could just see him do like this. That's not how you drink water when you're thirsty. You take a drink. But no, I think he was drunk and nervous.
that would imply that the peace talks are have already happened, and Ukraine already had to give everything up. Why would they talk? We mentioned last night that Secretary Hegseth has now tried to walk those comments back, but I think it is worth you hearing exactly how he started his remarks when he was trying to take back what he said the other day.
As it pertains to NATO membership not being realistic outcome for negotiations, that's something that was stated as part of my remarks here, as part of a coordination with how we're executing these ongoing negotiations.
Say that again. In that sense, that's something that was stated as part of my remarks. It's like he asked ChatGPT to come up with the most passive voice way to say, you know what, I need to take back that dumb thing I said. It's not just our allies abroad who reacted negatively to Pete Hegseth's comments. After Hegseth made those comments, the Republican chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Roger Wicker, responded by saying, quote, "I prefer we don't give away negotiating positions before we actually get started." After Hegseth then tried to take it back.
Let me just say that was a Republican who said that too.
Walk back what he'd said and say he didn't really mean it. Senator Wicker then responded again, saying, quote, "He made a rookie mistake. I don't know who wrote the speech. It's the kind of thing Tucker Carlson could have written." And, quote, "Carlson is a fool."
This is just absurd. We are worse off and creating chaos and concern for our allies, and it is getting worse every day, and we have to use our voices to call it out. This is truly crazy stuff, and we're going to be talking about it every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.
So yeah, that kid Jack, I think he's in his early 20s, and he was going to like Dartmouth College or something like that, and I think he got expelled for these allegations of harassment or stalking or something that I've never seen any proof that he actually did these things. I mean, I've looked into it because it sounded so unbelievable. But oh my goodness, you are so sweet. Was that Jackie that got all of her comments deleted? Jackie Bushable sent me $20 on the Cash App. OMG, you are the sweetest. Thank you. That is the nicest thing. That's my first $20 that I've made probably with YouTube. I mean, they owe me like $400 that they say that they're going to pay me once I like get my Social Security card with my married name on it, which I've never needed for the 33 years that I've been married. But that's just so nice. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. So sweet. Yeah. For anybody who's interested, I've put the little Cash App things in the description of pretty much all of my videos. And I don't want to make anyone feel like they need to do that. But if you want to do that, it's lovely. Thank you. And just the feeling of being supported is the best. So thanks so much. And see, I think that really shows C3PO that there's no hard feelings. So how cool is that? How do you do the cute little heart thing? So we had Valentine's Day on Friday, President's Day today, although nobody's wanting to call it President's Day because there's a president that I don't think a lot of Americans or people around the world are wanting to celebrate. And I really, really don't believe that all of the people that voted for our current president in the first time around, I think that a lot of those supporters jumped ship. I really don't believe that there was a legitimate election. And I hope that this Doge thing hasn't destroyed all the records of the illegitimacy of it, but I would bet that that was goal number one. Don't you think? In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. All right. Just not touch my lame iPhone. I know I have an iPhone 2 C3PO and it is frustrating. But what are the Dems doing to stop this? It doesn't appear to be anything. Thank you for saying that, Anna Bees, because I agree with you completely. Like, they're not fighting for us. They're not fighting for the people. There's something really, really crooked going on. And I think a lot of people are getting paid off. And I think a lot of people that have the D by their name in our government are getting paid off, just like the Republicans are getting paid off. And they're probably just scared because between the two, the big E and the little d, they pretty much own the freaking universe. So what are we going to do? We got to do something. I mean, fortunately, their money is mostly imaginary on paper and in cyberspace. So it can probably be deleted pretty quickly. But, they are just representations of the real, I don't even know what you would call them. The people that are behind the Project 2025, the people that are part of this weird conglomerate that wants women to all be barefoot and pregnant and wants everyone to be white and wants people to have no freedom. Who are these people? I mean, unless I'm just imagining things, right? It's all in my imagination because I am a girl. I do have a wandering uterus. So, all right. On that note, like I said, thank you for that comment, Anna Bees, because even some of the real outspoken ones like Jasmine Crockett, like, what is she doing? AOC, what is she doing? They're allowing this to happen. I don't get it. And like Barack Obama, like what? He's powerless because he's not president anymore? Come on. Get with the program, man. And maybe there are things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. That's something that I have kept an open mind to, but I also don't want to be, just wishfully thinking and not tuned into what's actually happening. And yeah, Jackie does have lots of great comments. Pretty sure this election was stolen. Agrees C3PO. DJT gave several cabinet members $800,000 in crypto a week or 10 days ago. There's so much insanity with that crypto. And yeah, I'm sure that the election was stolen. And then DJT, he owns all of the media. He's suing everybody. Elon is paying him $10 million for his Twitter account getting deleted. Remember, after January 6th, he was ostracized. Facebook deleted him too, which is, I'm pretty sure, why Zuckerberg has been sucking up to him. These people are afraid of him. I mean, he's maniacal. He is absolutely maniacal. Thank you, C3PO, the Heritage Foundation. Like, who are these people? That's the people behind the 2025 insanity. Thank you, Mr. Vaught. Yes, and he's getting appointed to the cabinet too, right? You are spot on, C3PO. He's probably doing the same for the Dems. That's what I think. That's what I've thought all along, that they're being promised all this money probably throughout their lifetime. And we know that he's infamous for not following through on his promises. The media is gutless. Well, I think the media is all owned by him, Anna Bees, which is why there's so many podcasters coming out. Who is this one guy, Lawrence? You guys know who I'm talking about? I think he was from MSNBC. He just asked MSNBC to let him out of his contract so that he could do his own thing on the internet. And they said, sure. Let's see if I can find his name real quick. To release him from his contract. There are so many great content creators like more and more than ever before. Lawrence O'Donnell, right? Is that who it is? No, that's not the right one. But Lawrence O'Donnell is really good, but it was a different guy. I'll figure out who it is and I'll put it in the description. It was something that I just saw today. I don't think it was Lawrence O'Donnell. Anyway, like I said, I'll figure it out. I do need to wrap up. I should say mainstream media is gutless, right? Elon can pay Elon can pay millions to all of them and still have hundreds of billions left over. Wouldn't hurt one tiny bit. So yeah, he's lost billions, like over $50 billion this year in his Tesla stock value. And yeah, it's all like monopoly money. It really is. But yeah, Teslas are getting to be embarrassing, I think, for Tesla owners to drive around. Sheryl Crow just sold her Tesla and then she donated the money to a good cause and she made it very public. And then there was this woman whose parents were injured very badly in a Tesla accident, and Tesla sued her for defamation because she was public about what had happened. We are living in a nightmare, Annabise, but we have each other. We'll get through this. I think, I hope. I feel like as long as we pay attention, as long as we look at it head on, if we try to ignore it, I feel like that's the most dangerous thing we can do. So that's why I'm out here talking about it. And I really appreciate people being here with me and all of my listeners. And thank you again, Jackie. That was super sweet. The financial support, the emotional support is extremely valuable. We all need that, don't we? And yeah, I'd say just staying educated and talking to people around you, whether that's your family, people at the grocery store, people on YouTube. I'm so thankful for you and the chat. Oh, Anna Bees, you are the sweetest. Thank you, my dear. Love and light. Much love to all of you. So yeah, it's been over 90 minutes. I'm so happy to see you guys. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Love and light. Drink your water. Get your protein and veggies.